When she simply raised one brow, he shook his head.
Get it together, Jacobson.
He tried to get his fried brain to work. Gorgeous women weren't new to him. They liked him, he liked them. Win-win. However, for some reason, Everly made his very fast brain stutter to a near stop. He blamed the fact that he'd had to take the red-eye from Hungary with a teething and very angry baby on board, and a seatmate who loved to talk. "Nice to meet ya," she said when he didn't move, "but I gotta get these up to my apartment." The sexy way she dropped her A's was doing crazy things to what was left of his addled brain.
"You're 3B.
Of course, his mind picked that moment to actually start working. The gallery owner who was leasing the street-level commercial property in the building.
"I'm 2B, but don't worry. I don't mind being beneath you."
"What the fuck did you just say, Jacobson?" In his sleep-deprived mind, he'd meant that because he owned the building, he didn't mind not being on the top floor. But she didn't know he owned the building, and now he wasn't sure telling her wouldn't seem like he'd said that just to work in he owned the building. Remain rude or look pathetic. Either option left him looking like the asshole he'd just acted like. And to think, he had used his brain and communication skills to put millions of dollars in the bank in the matter of only a few years.
Come on, Jacobson. Think of something to say that isn't an innuendo or bragging. Something helpful. And then get the hell out of here while she still lets you.
His mind jumped around from pivot to pivot, each follow-up potentially life-threatening in the minefield he'd just created.
"I can hook you up with a great guy I know. He helps people get rid of accents."
Okay, not his first choice of topics upon just meeting someone, but it qualified as helpful. She planted a hand on a round hip and narrowed her eyes. "Accents?"
"Yeah."
He nodded, realizing too late what fuckery his jet-lagged brain had just gotten him into. "And what's wrong with how I speak?" Everly asked, her tone hard. No A's were dropped suggestively that time, as each word came out like bullets from a machine gun. He thought he heard the faint ringing of a bell before a boxing match began in the distance of his subconscious, and his gaze darted around for a way to get to his apartment quickly. She deserved an apology, he was sure, but he was afraid he'd just dig the hole even deeper. He was so jet-lagged and off his game.
Nothing?"
Tyler could read anyone, know their weaknesses in a moment, and use them to his own advantage. It's how he had turned his consulting firm into the one organization in Harbor City guaranteed to make businesses successful. Part coach, part drill instructor, part Machiavelli. He brought whatever was needed to the table to transform companies and take them from good to great. But for the second time that day, his scheming mind was drawing a blank. As the shock of that settled into his belly and set up shop, he had no choice but to throw her a self-deprecating half-smile he'd seen his friend Frankie do all too often, which always charmed the ladies and got Frankie out of sticky situations. Hopefully he wasn't as rusty at trying to charm his way out of a mess as he felt. She pursed her cherry-red lips together, her intelligent eyes narrowing as she picked up on his change in tack. This woman was far too clever, and she was having none of it. She nodded as if she were actually considering what he'd said. "But I should change it?" Minefield, minefield.
"Forget I said anything."
Really? It would be a blessing at this point, since they were going to be neighbors. He sure as hell wasn't going to let her know he actually owned the building after acting like such an ass.
"Thank you, last-minute red-eye flight from Budapest."
Normally, Tyler was the one in any situation analyzing the room, looking for the best angles. But as he watched her options flash behind her eyes while schooling her features to remain calm, he was impressed by the plotting going on behind those big, dark eyes of hers. She seemed to consider smiling. He could see the corners of her eyes almost crinkle. But from how he imagined her perspective, if she played it flirtatiously, she might get a neighbor who constantly cornered her for more attention. Her mouth started to turn down. She could try anger that he was in her way, that he had insulted her, but they had to share the same building, so that was unnecessary stress, especially with her business downstairs. Finally, she seemed to settle on a guarded but friendly persona that shut down any opportunities on his part for help or further conversation. Damn, she was good. "Okay," she said with a smile that looked almost genuine if a little annoyed.